Hey guys, Jessica from Pizza Books, and today I'm here with the second half of my March wrap-up. I read 11 books in the second half of March. I read 12 in the first half, so you can check out my video down below. I did not read as much as I normally do. I am at a point in my life where I have like 3 full-time jobs, so it is a little bit of a juggle with everything. So hopefully things are not going to be as stressful in a couple months, but right now I have my full-time job, I have YouTube, and I have a new project I started with my friend. So it's been a lot, so I haven't really been reading a ton. And then I also went out of town to Denver to the Readers Take Denver signing last weekend, and I was out of town for 4 days and then came back. So I also had an author event last night from the day I'm filming this and got to host a Q&A with Mia Sheridan at Joseph Beth in Cincinnati, and it was so much fun doing my first like live interview in front of a crowd. So my life has been very busy. 11 books in 2.5 weeks is still amazing, but I only read 23 books this month and I typically average about 30, so it's been a little bit of a slower reading month for me, but I did end up getting this super cute sweatshirt in Denver and I'm obsessed with it. This one is from the last chapter and I love it. So I will go ahead and get to the 11 books that I read in the second half of March, and it's already April, but I cannot believe how fast this year is going. The first book I read is Halo by Brooke, Blaine, and Ella Frank. This one I read as part of my Patreon book club. Every month we pick a book to read with an author guest. So this month's guest was Gianna Darling, and it was so nice to chat with her since she's not on social media right now. I have missed her so much and the chat was so fun. So Gianna loves a good MM romance, and Halo is an MM rockstar romance, and it is like the sweetest rockstar romance, because typically when you think of rockstar romances, they're very like broody bad boys, lots of drugs and alcohol and sex, and this one was not like that because Halo is just this amazing character. He is a really great singer and a really great musician, and he tries out for the part of the lead singer of this band whose lead singer left. And so Halo tries out and they're like, he's not really our vibe, but he's such an amazing singer. They end up hiring him, and it's their journey of trying to bring the band back and kind of like rebranding themselves because Halo's so different from the previous person that was their singer, and he falls for one of the band members who is definitely a bit of a rock star in the sense that he sleeps around, gets all the attention, he's just like larger than life, and it was such a great romance. It is book 1 to a trilogy, so I did not know that when we picked it. It does end on a bit of a cliffhanger. There is no happily ever after in the end, but I really enjoyed this. I think I ended up giving it like 4.5 stars. All of these I'm also really far behind on my Goodreads reviews, so I don't know for certain what I'm rating these books because I haven't written my review yet, but this one I think 4.5. It was such a great rockstar romance. I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend checking it out, and check out my Patreon if you're interested in joining in on our author chats every month. Jennifer Hartman is going to be on my channel in April, so I'm very excited. Then I read Dancing with Sin by Alexandra Lee. This one was the last book for the video I did where I read Cheyenne's favorite books that she recommended to me in my Battle of the BookTube Besties. I can link that vlog down below, but this one I was very excited because it is a sister's boyfriend romance. So she falls in love with her sister's boyfriend and she is roommates with them. She has to move in with them. She was a dancer, I think like in New York, and moves home and she starts falling for him. The writing was really hard for me to get into with this one. It's definitely a very descriptive writing style that's not as natural to me as a reader, so it just kind of took me out of the story a little bit reading through this one. I think this is the author's first book or one of her first books, so I'm not sure how her writing has progressed since then. I have read one of her newer releases and I didn't love that one either, so I'm not sure if I'm going to check out more of her books, but this one it was good. I liked the angst and tension, but it took me a while to like really believe in that. It kind of felt forced in the beginning with them like hanging out together, and I'm like, I don't really get his vibe that much, like liking her. It just seems like they're hanging out, but it definitely became very forbidden and very messy. So I think I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. Like I said, I was just like, it took me a long time to get into this one, and the writing was a little bit distracting, but overall it definitely delivered on the angst because obviously she's falling for her sister's boyfriend, and you didn't really like feel as bad though because like things came out about the sister where you were like, do I really care that you're not gonna end up with this guy? Sure, they could have done it in a less messy way, but overall it was fun. Definitely very long. I don't think it needed to be this long, but I'm glad I picked it up. I do have 2 copies of this book, but they're over there. I didn't grab them because I listened to the audiobook of Tatters Stars by Catherine Cowles. I was doing my first narrator interview with Zachary Weber. I have done 3 now since then, and those narrator interviews are so fun. If you have not yet had the chance to check them out, they're on my channel under the live like tag on my channel, and you can check out my narrator interviews. I actually have one tonight, and these are really fun. So I re-listened to this one because Zachary Weber is the narrator, and I just like missed the series, so I reread it, and I bumped my rating up to 5 stars. So initially I had 4 stars, but I just love Catherine Cowell's storytelling, and I loved the hate to love aspect of this one, especially because the heroine, she turned her father in for kidnapping a little girl, and her family was shunned from both her family, who was very like cult-like, and the community. And so now she's back in town. She has taken over the ranch land that her family lived on, and she wants to open an animal sanctuary, and someone is sabotaging her and doing scary stuff to her, and the hero is a police officer, and he immediately does not like her because she is connected to the family that kidnapped his sister and like traumatized his family, but then he slowly definitely starts falling for her. And I also forgot there was a part with his dog that his dog got hurt, so please be aware of that going in here. His dog is fine, but his dog did get hurt, and I was like, oh my gosh, like what? Know that going into this one, but I love all the animals in her books, and there is suspense in here, which I really love, and just read the series. It's so good. I love the way she develops her relationships, and I love this one. Then I did read Between Hell and Goodbye by Emma Scott. I read this for Reading BookTube's favorite books of 2022. I finally got around to doing that video, and this one, I think like 5 different creators love this book so much, and this one takes place in Hawaii. Our heroine, she is really, really good at her job. She works in like PR and marketing, but she doesn't take it that seriously, and they end up telling her they want to make her partner, but she has to go on vacation and really reevaluate her life. So she decides to go to Hawaii, injures herself one of the first days there, and meets a firefighter there, and they fall really, really quickly for each other. But she lives in like Washington, I think, and he lives in Hawaii. So how can they make it work? This book was a little frustrating to me, so I did not love it as much as my friends did. I 100% thought this was going to be a new favorite of mine. I really love Emma Scott. Some of my friends who have such similar tastes to me love this, and I thought, this is going to be a new favorite. That's why I put it off for so long, but it was just fine. I think it was very insta-love, and I didn't really buy their like deep emotional connection that they had, and they wanted to pursue this relationship, but were not willing to discuss how it would work. Like literally they live across the country from one another. Like something has got to happen. They can't just like have a long distance relationship. What is the end goal here? And then they would get mad at each other for wanting to bring it up, and I was getting really frustrated. And then the pacing was a little off because we got to a part where I was like, something big is gonna happen. I was like, nothing is happening now. It's a little stagnant. Like there's not an end in sight. I still had 3 hours left of the audiobook. Like what is happening? And a bomb was dropped that really just felt like it was there for the plot, and then I didn't really love where it took the story. It was definitely very emotional, and it was supposed to like hit you in the feels, but I was like waiting for it to happen, so it didn't really have as an emotional effect on me. So I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. I wanted so much more from it and so much more from the romance, but I just didn't. I did love the narrators though, because Desiree Ketchum narrated this one, and I love her. So check out the audio if you're interested in this one, but it was a miss for me. Then I read Next to You by Hannah Bonham Young, and if you guys watched that video, you know I think all the next 4 books were from that video. So this one is a friends to lovers romance, and I need a physical copy because I'm obsessed. It was my favorite book of the month, and it is 5 stars, absolutely. I have talked about this book probably in like 4 videos now. You have to read it. Our heroine is definitely more quirky. She has a twin sister who's definitely more serious, who was engaged to someone, and they're like preparing for her wedding, and she had met Matt when a couple years ago, and they shared a kiss on New Year's Eve, and then he friend zones her. So like they're just really, really close friends. They watch movies all the time. She's trying to like educate Matt on like pop culture because he grew up homeschooled, didn't have a lot of that, so it's like their thing to do together. She decides to buy a bus and convert that bus into a home and move into it, and Matt works, I forget what he works in. I think he works on cars, I don't remember, but he's helping her renovate it, and they're growing closer. They have to go on a road trip together, and they do a lot of forced proximity. So they go to pick up the bus together, then they go visit his family, and then they go visit her family for the wedding, and they're forced to confront some feelings and have a little friends with benefits situation going on, and Matt is the sweetest. I love this book. The 3rd act breakup was a little annoying because it was just like her refusal to be happy because of something that happened in her past. So that was a little frustrating, but the thing that made up for that was the sweetest, and I'm obsessed with Matt, my new favorite book boyfriend. Definitely read this book if you can, because it's a new favorite of mine, and I'm obsessed, and I can't wait to go back and read book 1. Another 5-star read is Daisy Hates by Jessa Hastings. This one is book 2 in the series, and I love Magnolia Parks. One of my favorites of last year. Super, super angsty, messy, very character driven, which I'm not normally a character driven person, but give me mess and angst and I'm there. So this one's Daisy's story, and it took me a while to get into because it's Christian And Daisy, yes, I always get Julian and Christian mixed up, which is her brother versus her boyfriend. Okay. Anyways, this is their story, and Christian was in love with Magnolia in the first book. Magnolia is a frustrating character because in order to cope with BJ breaking her heart, she makes everybody fall in love with her. So everyone's in love with her, and I hate people like that. And so I loved her story though, because she's meant to be with BJ, but that means she was really affecting literally everyone else in the story. And so Christian's hung up on Magnolia. Daisy and Christian start hooking up, start falling for each other, but then like freaking out because they're like, what about these other people we like? And it's messy. It's so messy. So much heartbreak in here. Even when you think things are going well, they just like break again. And this is definitely more mafia because Julian is an art thief, and there's a police officer that's trying to catch him that's getting closer to Daisy. And so you're like, oh, is Daisy gonna have something with him though? And some people are murdered in here, and it's just so good. Such a big cast of characters though. So it does take a while to really get into the story because so many characters are thrown in there that you're trying to keep track of who is who. But I love this book. Like I said, messy and angsty, cheating galore. Like, they cheat on each other a lot, so know that going into this, but I loved it. 5 stars. Then I listened to the audiobook of Haunting Adeline. This has Teddy Hamilton narrating a stalker, and it was fabulous. I gave this 4.5 stars. I don't remember my final rating, but I thought it would be darker. First off, like, everybody's obsessed with how dark this book is. I have heard book 2 is really dark, which I'm very excited for that one. But this one, he stalks her and he's obsessed with her, and she moves into her grandmother's house, and I think it was her grandmother, because then she's uncovering this diary because her grandmother was murdered, or it was her great-grandmother's. Someone in her family was murdered and had a stalker, and she's trying to uncover who had murdered this family member of hers. So we get those chapters throughout of her diary, so like we get to see it, and we also get to see her falling in love with her stalker. So now we flash to our heroine in this one who has a stalker, and he's just obsessed with her. He is also like a vigilante, so he loves murdering bad people, and also people who touch her. So he's literally touch her and you die, because he was like, if you let a man touch you, I'm going to chop off his hands and mail them to you. And guess what he does? She let a man touch her. He was a bad man. So like, you don't feel bad? He chopped off his hands and sent them to her. So it's so funny. And like, this definitely has to do with a lot of dubcon, because she says she does not want things from him, but she is obviously really into it. So I'm okay with that, because you could tell this like deep connection between them, and the hero's just so obsessed with her, and I was like obsessed with him being obsessed with her, and weirded out that I was so attracted to this man who literally murders people and like does horrible things and like pushes her to her limits, but he knows what she wants, and I really love that. I was like, yes, keep stalking her. Yes, show up in her bedroom. Like, yes. So if you know, you know. If you read this, you know what I'm talking about. I really loved it, but definitely ends on a cliffhanger, so I need to read book 2 now, and I'm very excited because it's going to be darker than this one. This one, I mean, like, had hands chopped off, it had some dark stuff, but like just normal dark romance stuff, so I'm intrigued to see where book 2 takes it. Then I read Thunder and Roses by Mary Jo Putney. This was the Historical Hellions pick for March, and I DNF'd this. I got to about 80% of the audiobook, and the story wasn't really going anywhere. I was very bored by it. So in this one, the heroine wants to like save the mine and approaches the hero, who's like the demon Earl, and asks him, can you help save the mine? Like, look at what's happening. And he's like, fine, but if you stay with me for like 3 weeks, I'll do it. It was pretty boring. Like, I did not care about the mine. Apparently all this like dramatic stuff happens at the end, but I was at 80% and I was like, this is honestly a 3-star read, and it's not gonna get higher than that. So I'm trying to be better at DNFing books. I also had to finish the vlog I was doing for reading BookTube's favorite books, so I was like, I don't have time for this. I'm not gonna love it, so I DNF'd it. It would have been a 3-star read probably. I was not that impressed with this. It was just okay. And I was like, with such a stunning cover and step back, like there was a duel in here that was pretty good. But other than that, it was pretty boring. The heroine like had to stay with him, and she was worried about her reputation being ruined, but like he didn't really care. And it was fine. That's all it was. So I honestly didn't care about the mine either. Like, if historical romances have like boring history stuff, I'm not into it. Then I read Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. It was the last book for that video, and this one I know is some of my best friend's favorite book, and I gave this 5 stars. This one is definitely character driven. It is new adult, but takes place in high school. So our heroine, she has been bullied relentlessly like all of her life. She is also very abused at home, and her mother doesn't do anything about it, and she has 5 brothers, 3 younger, 1 just older than her, and another one that's moved out, and so she's really close with them, especially Joey, her older brother, and she gets to go to a private school by their home that her mother has taken out a loan for to send her to, so she's not like relentlessly bullied and like just anxious all the time. And her first day there, she gets knocked in the head by a rugby ball from our hero. And our hero is a pretty famous rugby player, but he is like playing for school, but he plays like in Dublin, I think this is in Ireland, for like a really good team. And he is instantly intrigued by her and wants to get to know her, but her mother is like, "You're bullying my daughter, like how dare you? We're trying to have a new start." And so he is instantly very protective of her. They spend more time together and they start falling in love. And he though is recovering from an injury. He had surgery and he is doing everything he can to get back in the game, even though it might be hard on him. And she is dealing with bullies and an abusive home. And this was so good. So emotional, but their like connection was just everything to me, and I was never bored of them. Even though this was character driven, I was obsessed with them. And I'm super intrigued by Joey, her brother, and her brother's girlfriend. They have a book and I'm very excited for that. This one definitely ends on a cliffhanger as well, so I need to get to book 2 because you see them like finally admitting their feelings for each other, but then they self-sabotage as well, which gets very frustrating. But I really liked it and I can't wait to see how they end up together. Then I read Yours to Take by Emily Silver. This is a small town romance and I gave this one 3.5 stars. It was very cute. There was like nothing wrong with it, but nothing super special about it. So the heroine works on her family's ranch, which is also like a hotel, and the hero is a script writer and he is being pressured to write a new script because his last show did really well, and they're like, "Write a family drama," and he's like, "I don't know anything about that." And so he goes to the ranch in order to be inspired to write a show that would like take place there, and he starts falling for the heroine, and it felt good. It felt like all of the things were there to make a good romance. They just weren't taken beyond that. So I would have loved a little bit more emotion or a little bit more angst or a little bit more something in this book, because like I said, it had everything there. It was a good time. I really enjoyed reading it. I enjoyed watching them fall in love. Obviously it was going to be a question of like, well, his life is in LA. She doesn't want to leave the ranch. She's hoping to take over. There's some horseback riding in here, which is really fun, and I had a really fun time reading it, but I would have loved just a little bit more to make it a little bit more special. So definitely check out Emily Silver though. I enjoyed the first one I read by her. And the last book I read was A Wicked Game by Kate Bateman. I listened to this one on audio. This one is book 3 in the series where it's about a rival family, and I had so much fun reading this. I gave it 4 stars. Our hero and heroine have hated each other since they were young. It's more like we hate each other because we really want each other, and he goes off to war and she says, "If you make it back alive, I like owe you kisses or something." And so he comes back alive and she has to kiss him every day, and it is so fun watching him like get his kisses per day and her freaking out about it and then spending more time together. And I had a lot of fun reading this, and she learns stuff about him, like how he would talk about her a lot while he was in the Navy, and I really liked it. We got to see their siblings as well, who had all fallen in love together, and this was just such a fun series where it is a rival family. I think I did like books 1 and 2 better than this one because I just like vividly remember scenes from those ones compared to this one. This didn't stand out as much as the other ones, but still a very solid romance in the series, and like I said, I gave it 4 stars. The audiobook was really good. And those are all the books that I've read in March. Let me know what you read and what your favorites were of the month and what you thought of these if you've read them. I would love to hear. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.